He paid her to sweep the cabin, but when she gave birth, she called him her husband's name. That ain't dirt, is it? She doesn't look up from her knees, brush grinding against the wood. The bristles scrape and catch on the grain, pulling at something dark that's seeped deep between the boards. Her hands are already raw from the lye soap, but she keeps working in the same spot over and over. No, ma'am, it ain't dirt. The man fills the doorway like a shadow, arms crossed, watching her work. His voice carries no shame, just fact, like he's telling her the sky is blue or the well water runs cold. She can feel his eyes on her back, measuring her reaction. How long it been here? Week, maybe 2. The brush stops moving. She sits back on her heels, finally looking at him. He's older than she expected when she took the job, maybe 50, with the kind of face that's seen too much sun and not enough sleep. His clothes are clean, but his boots are caked with red clay. You gonna tell me whose blood this is? Does it matter? She dips the brush back in the bucket, watching the water turn pink. Matters to me. I got children at home. Then you best keep scrubbing and keep quiet. The cabin smells like pine and death and something else she can't name. Something sour that hangs in the air no matter how many windows she opens. She's cleaned houses before, plenty of them, but this feels different. Wrong. Like the wood itself is holding on to secrets. What's your name? She asks, not because she wants conversation, but because she needs to know who she's working for if things go bad. Mr. Pike. That's all. That's enough. She scrubs harder, trying to work out the frustration building in her chest. The job pays 3 times what anyone else offered, and she needs every dollar. The bank don't care that her husband vanished 6 months ago. The bank don't care that she's got 2 boys to feed and winter coming on fast. You live here, Mr. Pike. Sometimes. Where else you live? Lots of places. The evasion makes her stomach tight. She's heard that tone before, from men who think women don't deserve straight answers, from sheriffs who won't file missing person reports, from bank managers who smile while they explain foreclosure. This blood gonna come out? It better. She tests a different spot with her fingernail. The stain runs deeper than she thought, following the wood grain like dark veins. Someone bled a lot here. Someone bled, and nobody called a doctor. Mr. Pike. What? My husband used to work for folks like you. He shifts in the doorway but doesn't speak. She can hear his breathing change, just slightly. Collection work, debt settling, that sort of thing. A lot of people do that work. Not a lot of people vanish doing it. The silence stretches between them like a pulled wire. She keeps scrubbing, but her movements are slower now, more careful, testing him. What was your husband's name? The question catches her off guard. She looks up again, studying his face for something she recognizes. Tommy Crane. Something flickers behind his eyes. Just for a second, then it's gone. Don't know no Tommy Crane, but his voice has changed, gotten quieter, and she knows he's lying. He was working a job out this way before he disappeared, collecting on some bad debts for important people. Lot of bad debts around here. He was good at his job. Real good. Never had trouble before. Pike steps into the cabin, boots heavy on the board she just cleaned. He moves to the window, looking out at something she can't see. His shoulders are tense. Maybe he found trouble he couldn't handle. Maybe trouble found him. The words hang in the air like smoke. She knows she's pushing too hard, but she can't stop herself. 6 months of wondering, 6 months of empty beds and unpaid bills and neighbors who won't meet her eyes. 6 months of sheriffs who tell her men run off all the time, especially men with gambling problems. Mrs. Crane. Yes, sir. You want this job or not? She looks down at the bloodstain, at her red hands, at the bucket of pink water, at the empty wallet in her purse and the past due notices stuffed in her kitchen drawer. I want it. Then clean the blood and keep your questions to yourself. He walks out, leaving her alone with the stain and the smell and the growing certainty that Tommy was here, that her husband stood on these same boards, maybe bled on them. She dips the brush again, working harder now, not just for the money, but for something else, something that feels like purpose. The cabin watches her work. Every board, every nail, every shadow in the corners seems to hold its breath. She can feel the weight of what happened here pressing down like storm clouds. I'm gonna find you. Tommy, she whispers to the floor. Whatever they did to you, I'm gonna find you. The brush scrapes against wood. The water sloshes. And somewhere in the walls, something settles with a sound like an old house sighing. Pike's boots crunch on gravel outside. He's not gone far, just far enough to make her think she's alone. But she can feel him watching through the windows, measuring how she handles the truth. The blood is coming up now, slowly, but it's coming. And with each stroke of the brush, each inch of clean wood revealed, she feels something building inside her chest. Not fear exactly, something harder, something patient. She works until the sun starts to set, until her knees are numb and her back screams, until the worst of the stain is gone and what's left looks like shadows. When Pike comes back inside, she's sitting by the bucket, hands folded in her lap. It's clean. Good. Mr. Pike. What now? I'll be back tomorrow. He nods, pulls out a roll of bills. Counts off more money than she's seen in months. Same time? Same time. She takes the money, counts it twice. It's all there, just like he promised. And Mr. Pike. Yeah. Next time, maybe you could tell me what really happened here. He doesn't answer, just watches her gather her things and walk to the door. But as she steps into the evening air, she hears him say something so quiet, she almost misses it. Maybe next time, Mrs. Crane. Maybe next time. She's halfway to her truck when Pike calls out from the cabin doorway. Mrs. Crane. She stops, keys in her hand. The evening air carries the smell of wood smoke and something else. Something that reminds her of the slaughterhouse outside town. Yes, sir? You know why I hired you. She turns back to face him. He's leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, studying her like she's a puzzle he's trying to solve. Because I work cheap. Plenty of people work cheap. Because I don't ask questions. You've been asking questions all day. The money feels heavy in her pocket. More than she's made in 3 months, but there's a catch somewhere. There's always a catch. Then why? Because you got nothing left to lose. The words hit like a slap. She wants to argue, wants to tell him about her boys, about the house she's fighting to keep, about the hope she carries like a stone in her chest. But he's not wrong. Come back inside. We need to talk. She follows him into the cabin, past the spot where she spent the day scrubbing. The floorboards are lighter now, but she can still see the outline of what was there, like a shadow burned into the wood. Pike pours himself coffee from a pot on the wood stove and doesn't offer her any. Your husband worked for some powerful people. I know that. Do you know which people? She sits in the chair by the window, the one that faces the road. He never said names, said it was safer that way. Smart man. Smart enough to disappear without a trace. Pike drinks his coffee, watching her over the rim. What did the sheriff tell you when you reported him missing? Sheriff Garrett? He said Tommy probably ran off. Said men do that when the pressure gets too high. You believe that? No. Why not? She looks out the window at the empty road, at the shadows gathering between the trees. Because Tommy never ran from anything in his life. And because his truck was found burned out near Miller's Creek with blood on the seat. Pike sets down his coffee cup. The sound is too loud in the quiet cabin. Sheriff tell you about the blood? Sheriff said it was probably deer blood, hunting season and all. What do you think? I think Sheriff Garrett's a liar. Pike nods like she passed some kind of test. Garrett's been sheriff here for 20 years. Got elected on the promise he'd keep things quiet. Quiet how? Quiet like missing people stay missing. Quiet like certain kinds of business don't get investigated. She feels something cold settle in her stomach. What kind of business? The kind your husband was collecting on. Pike walks to the window, looking out at something she can't see. His reflection in the glass looks older, more tired. Tommy was working for Governor Whitmore's people. Did you know that? I knew it was political work. Big money collections. Bigger than you think. Whitmore's been buying votes for 30 years, paying cash for loyalty. Sometimes that loyalty comes due. And sometimes people don't pay. Sometimes people try to back out of deals. Sometimes they get religion or grow a conscience. Sometimes they threaten to talk. She understands now why the cabin smells like death. Why Pike needed someone desperate enough to clean blood without asking whose it was. Tommy found something, didn't he? Tommy found records, names, dates, amounts, enough to put half the county in prison. And someone killed him for it. Pike turns from the window. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The silence stretches between them. Outside, a owl calls from the darkness, lonely and sharp. Mrs. Crane, how many times you been to the sheriff's office asking about Tommy? Dozen times, maybe more. How many times Sheriff Garrett actually looked into it? Never. Not once. He kept saying Tommy would turn up. And how many other wives been in there asking about missing husbands? The question catches her off guard. She thinks about the women she's seen in the waiting area, holding pictures, wiping tears. 3, maybe 4. All debt collectors. I don't know. Garrett never let us talk to each other, always separated us. Pike pours more coffee, this time offering her a cup. She takes it, grateful for something to hold, something warm. What happened to them? The other women. They stopped coming. One moved away. One died in a car accident. One just gave up. And you? I ain't giving up. Pike nods like he expected that answer. That's why you're here, Mrs. Crane, because you're the only one left who still cares. She sips the coffee. It's bitter and strong, but it helps clear her head. You know what happened to Tommy? I know some things. Tell me. Can't do that. Not yet. Why not? Because knowing might get you killed too. The words hang in the air like smoke. She should be scared, should take her money and run, but instead she feels something else building inside her chest, something hard and patient and angry. I'm already dead, Mr. Pike. Been dead since the day Tommy disappeared. Only difference is I'm still breathing. Pike studies her face like he's reading a map. Your boys need their mama. My boys need to know what happened to their daddy, even if it means you don't come home. Especially then. Pike sets down his coffee cup and walks to the fireplace. There's no fire, just cold ashes and the smell of old smoke. The people who killed Tommy, they're not done. They got more cleaning up to do. More people to kill, more loose ends to tie up. She thinks about the other missing men, the other wives who stopped asking questions, about Sheriff Garrett and his promises to keep things quiet. They think I'll give up like the others. Won't you? No, sir, I won't. Pike nods, like that's what he was hoping to hear. Then we might be able to help each other, Mrs. Crane. How's that? I need someone on the inside, someone they don't suspect. Someone who can move around town without raising questions. You want me to spy for you. I want you to find the truth. And what do you get out of it? Pike looks at her for a long moment, like he's deciding how much to reveal. Justice, Mrs. Crane, same as you. She finishes her coffee, sets the cup on the table. Outside, the darkness is complete now, pressing against the windows like something alive. What do you need me to do? Keep cleaning the cabin, keep asking questions. Let people think you're just another grieving widow who's running out of money. And then we see who gets nervous. We see who makes mistakes. She stands, gathering her things. The money in her pocket feels different now. Not just payment for cleaning blood, but investment in something bigger. Mr. Pike? Yeah? When this is over, when we find who killed Tommy, what happens then? Pike opens the cabin door, letting in the cold night air. Then we make sure they pay, Mrs. Crane. We make sure they all pay. She walks to her truck, starts the engine. In the rear view mirror, she can see Pike standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the yellow light. As she drives away, she thinks about Sheriff Garrett and his promises to keep things quiet, about Governor Whitmore and his bought loyalty, about the other wives who gave up asking questions, but mostly she thinks about Tommy and the blood on the cabin floor and the justice that Pike promised. The road home stretches dark ahead of her, but for the first time in 6 months, she doesn't feel alone. She has work to do. The second day, she comes armed with stronger soap and steel wool. The bloodstain is mostly gone, but she can still see its ghost in the wood grain. Pike watches from the kitchen, drinking coffee that smells like burnt chicory. You don't have to scrub so hard. I ain't done yet. She works her way across the cabin floor, board by board, looking for more stains. The wood is old, maybe 50 years, and it's seen plenty of blood over the decades. Hunting, butchering, accidents. But this blood was different. This blood had secrets. The brush catches on something near the far wall. A loose board that gives slightly when she presses down. She rocks back on her heels, studying the gap between the planks. Mr. Pike, what now? This board's coming up. Pike sets down his coffee and walks over. He kneels beside her, running his fingers along the edge of the loose plank. Storm damage. Been meaning to fix it. But his voice has that careful tone again, the one he uses when he's not telling the whole truth. She presses harder on the board and it shifts with a dry creak. Something underneath makes a sound like paper crinkling. There's something down there. Probably just old newspapers. People used to stuff them under floors for insulation. She looks at him sideways. You want me to leave it alone? I want you to clean the floor. But he doesn't move away. He stays kneeling beside her, watching as she works her fingers under the loose board. The wood is rotted at the edges, soft with age and moisture. The board comes up easier than she expected. Underneath is a space maybe 6 inches deep, carved out between the floor joists. And tucked inside, wrapped in oiled cloth, is a bundle of papers. Pike reaches for them, but she's faster. Mrs. Ida Crane. Let me see. She unwraps the cloth carefully. Inside are maybe 20 letters, all folded and tied with string. The paper is good quality, not the cheap stuff from the general store, the kind important people use. The first letter is addressed to Thomas Crane in careful handwriting, her husband's name written in ink that's faded to brown. Pike, these are Tommy's. Give them here. No. She unfolds the first letter, hands shaking slightly. The letterhead reads Office of the Governor, and the signature at the bottom makes her stomach drop. Jesus Christ. What's it say? She reads the first few lines out loud. Mr. Crane, your services have been invaluable in ensuring voter compliance in the eastern districts. The attached payment reflects our appreciation for your discretion. Pike tries to take the letter, but she pulls it away. Tommy was working directly for Governor Whitmore. Lot of people work for the governor. Not like this. She unfolds another letter. Listen to this. Your collection methods in the Miller Creek District have been highly effective. Several previously uncooperative voters have now seen the wisdom of supporting our candidates. Collection methods? Pike doesn't answer. He's looking at the bundle of letters like they're poisonous snakes. She opens another one, this one in different handwriting. This one's from Sheriff Garrett. Mr. Crane, I trust you understand the importance of maintaining public order during the upcoming election. Any disruptions should be handled with appropriate force. Appropriate force. Tommy was threatening people, making them vote for Whitmore. Maybe nothing. Listen to this. She unfolds a fourth letter. The situation with the Hendricks family has been resolved. Mr. Hendricks has agreed to withdraw his complaint about voting irregularities. His cooperation was encouraged. Pike stands up, pacing to the window. You need to put those back. Like hell I do. She keeps reading, letter after letter. They paint a picture of corruption that goes back years. Vote buying, voter intimidation, election fraud, and Tommy was right in the middle of it. He was working for them, all of them. Whitmore, Garrett, probably half the county commissioners. Mrs. Crane, why didn't you tell me? Because I hoped you wouldn't find out. She looks up from the letters. Pike is standing by the window, but he's not looking outside. He's looking at her, and his face is grim. You knew these were here. I suspected. You wanted me to find them. I wanted to see what you'd do when you did. The betrayal hits her like a physical blow. You've been testing me. I had to know if you could handle the truth. What truth? Pike walks back to where she's kneeling, surrounded by letters. The truth about what your husband really was. She feels something cold spreading through her chest. What do you mean? Keep reading. She unfolds another letter, this one newer than the others. The ink is darker, the paper less yellowed. Mr. Crane, your recent concerns about the nature of our arrangement are noted but irrelevant. You agreed to certain terms, and those terms remain in effect regardless of your personal feelings. Tommy tried to get out. Keep reading. The next letter is even more recent. Your threats to expose our operations demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of your position. You have participated willingly in illegal activities. Your silence is not a favor to us. It is a requirement. They were threatening him. Keep going. The last letter is dated just 2 weeks before Tommy disappeared. The handwriting is different, more urgent. Mr. Crane, your ultimatum has been received and rejected. You will continue your assigned duties or face the consequences of your betrayal. There are no other options." She sets the letter down with shaking hands. Tommy wasn't just collecting debts, he was enforcing their will, threatening people who didn't vote the way Whitmore wanted. Yes. And when he tried to stop, they killed him. Pike doesn't answer right away. He picks up one of the letters, reading it with the expression of a man who's seen it all before. "Mrs. Crane, there's something else you need to know." "What?" "These letters, they weren't just hidden here randomly." "What do you mean?" "Tommy brought them here, the night before he disappeared. The cabin feels smaller suddenly, the walls pressing in. He was here. He came to me for help, said he'd been keeping copies of everything. Insurance in case they tried to silence him. And I told him to run, take his family and disappear. But he didn't. No, he said he couldn't live with what he'd done. Said he had to make it right." She thinks about Tommy in those last days, the way he'd sit at the kitchen table staring at nothing, the way he'd hold her at night like he was afraid she'd disappear. He was going to expose them. He was going to try. And they killed him for it. Pike nods. Probably tortured him first. Tried to find out where he hid the evidence. "Right here, in this cabin." "Right here." She looks around the cabin with new eyes. The bloodstain on the floor wasn't from some random violence. It was from Tommy's murder. Her husband died in this room, probably tied to a chair, probably screaming. Why didn't they find the letters? Because Tommy never told them where they were, even when they were cutting him apart. The words hit her like bullets. She can picture it too clearly. Tommy, stubborn and loyal to the end, protecting her even as he died. "You know who killed him?" "I have suspicions." "Tell me." "Sheriff Garrett, maybe some of his deputies. Maybe Whitmore's people." Maybe isn't good enough. Pike kneels beside her again, his voice lower now. "Mrs. Crane, these letters are evidence. Real evidence. The kind that could bring down the whole corrupt system. Good. The kind that could get you killed. I don't care. Your boys would care." She thinks about her sons, 8 and 10 years old, waiting for her to come home, waiting for answers about their daddy that she's never been able to give them. My boys deserve to know the truth. Even if the truth is that their daddy was a criminal, the question hangs in the air like smoke. She looks down at the letters, at the evidence of Tommy's crimes and his ultimate attempt at redemption. Tommy made mistakes, but he tried to fix them. And died for it. Pike gathers up the letters, rewrapping them in the oiled cloth. "These need to go back where you found them." "No." "Mrs. Crane, these letters are staying with me." "That's not safe." "Nothing's safe anymore, Mr. Pike, but I'm done pretending otherwise." She takes the bundle from his hands, holds it against her chest like a shield. "Tommy died trying to do the right thing. I ain't gonna let that mean nothing." Pike studies her face like he's trying to read her soul. "What are you planning to do?" "I'm gonna finish what he started." "That could mean war, Mrs. Crane. War against people with money and power and no conscience. Then we better make sure we win." Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the cabin windows. But inside, for the first time since Tommy disappeared, she feels something like hope. She has the truth now. And the truth, her mama always said, has a power all its own, even when it comes wrapped in blood and buried under rotting floorboards. The sound of tires on gravel cuts through the cabin's silence like a blade. She looks up from the letters scattered across the floor, her heart hammering against her ribs. The engine is expensive, purring instead of growling like the trucks around here. Through the window, she sees black paint and chrome bumpers. Shit. She scrambles to gather the letters, shoving them back into the wall cavity. Her hands shake as she tries to fit the loose board back in place. The engine dies. A car door slams. She grabs her cleaning supplies and starts scrubbing the same spot she's been working for 3 days. The brush trembles in her grip as footsteps approach the cabin door. "Pike, you in there?" The voice is smooth, educated, nothing like the rough voices she's used to hearing in town. She keeps scrubbing, trying to look busy, trying to disappear. The door opens without a knock. Well, what do we have here?" She looks up to see a man in his 30s. Wearing clothes that cost more than she makes in a year. His hair is perfectly styled, his shoes spotless despite the dirt road, but his eyes are cold, calculating, predator eyes. You must be the cleaning lady Pike mentioned. Yes, sir. She doesn't stand up, doesn't give him the satisfaction of looking intimidated. I'm Marcus Whitmore. You know that name. Everyone knows that name. Governor Whitmore owns half the county, controls the other half. Yes, sir. I know it. Marcus steps into the cabin like he owns it, which he probably does. He looks around, taking in the clean floors, the scrubbed walls, the lingering smell of bleach and death. You've done good work here. Real thorough. I try to be. I bet you do. He walks to the window, the same window Pike always stares out of. What's your name, sweetheart? The pet name makes her skin crawl. Mrs. Crane. Marcus stops moving, turns slowly to face her like a snake testing the air. Crane. That name sounds familiar. She keeps scrubbing, but the brush has stopped moving. Every muscle in her body is tight, ready to run or fight. Didn't I know a Tommy Crane? Worked collections for my father's organization? Maybe. A lot of people do that work. No, I remember now. Tommy Crane. Hard-working fellow. Very dedicated. Very persistent. The way he says the word makes her stomach turn. She forces herself to meet his eyes. My husband disappeared 6 months ago. Is that so? How unfortunate. Marcus walks closer, his expensive shoes silent on the wooden floor. She can smell his cologne, something sharp and cloying. Did he ever mention his work, Mrs. Crane? Ever talk about the people he met? The places he went? He kept business separate from home. Smart policy. Safer for everyone involved. Marcus crouches down beside her, close enough that she can see the gold watch on his wrist, the signet ring on his finger. Close enough to see that his smile doesn't reach his eyes. You know, Mrs. Crane, your husband came to this cabin before he disappeared. The brush slips from her hand, clatters on the floor. Did he now? Oh, yes. He had some questions about certain financial arrangements, some concerns about the legality of certain transactions. She reaches for the brush, but Marcus catches her wrist. His grip is gentle but firm. He was particularly interested in vote buying, land acquisition schemes, the kind of curiosity that can be dangerous in a small town. Let go of my arm. In a minute. His thumb rubs across her wrist like he's feeling her pulse. Tommy found some documents, didn't he? Letters, maybe. Financial records. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. Marcus releases her wrist and stands. In fact, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Pike's voice comes from the doorway, cold and sharp. Marcus, didn't expect to see you here. Marcus turns, his politician smile sliding back into place. Pike, just checking on your cleaning lady, making sure she's thorough. I'm sure she is. The two men stare at each other across the cabin. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. We need to talk. Marcus says, we're talking now. Privately. Pike looks at her, still kneeling on the floor with the cleaning supplies scattered around her. Mrs. Crane, why don't you take a break? Get some air. She doesn't want to leave. Doesn't want to miss whatever's about to happen. But Pike's tone leaves no room for argument. Yes, sir. She gathers her things and heads for the door, but Marcus's voice stops her. Mrs. Crane? Yes, sir. I knew your husband well. He was a good man, loyal, right up until the end. The words hit like ice water in her veins. She looks back at him, at his perfect smile and cold eyes. The end of what? His employment, of course. What else would I mean? She walks outside, but doesn't go far. Just far enough to make them think she's gone. She presses herself against the cabin wall, listening through the thin wood. She knows. Marcus's voice is no longer smooth. It's hard, dangerous. She doesn't know anything. Don't lie to me, Pike. I can see it in her eyes. She's got that same look her husband had right before he started asking the wrong questions. Tommy was getting careless, asking about things that weren't his business. And now his widow is here, cleaning blood off the floor where we had our final conversation with him. You don't see the irony in that? She presses harder against the wall, straining to hear. The blood on the floor was Tommy's. She knew it, but hearing it confirmed makes her knees weak. She's here because she needs money, nothing more. She's here because you want her here. Question is why. Pike doesn't answer immediately. She can hear him moving around inside, probably pouring coffee or staring out that damn window. Maybe I feel guilty. You? Guilty? Marcus laughs, but there's no humor in it. Pike, you put a bullet in Tommy Crane's head without blinking. Guilt isn't exactly your strong suit. Things change. People don't. You're the same cold bastard you've always been. So, why is she really here? Another silence, longer this time. Because she's bait. The word hits her like a physical blow. She has to bite her lip to keep from crying out. Bait for what? For whoever else knows what Tommy knew. Whoever else might have copies of those documents. And when they come for her, we'll be ready. And her? What happens to Mrs. Crane when this is all over? Pike's voice drops so low she can barely hear it. Same thing that happened to her husband. She slides down the wall, sitting hard in the dirt. Her vision blurs, and for a moment she thinks she might faint. But then anger kicks in, hot and sharp, clearing her head. Inside, Marcus is talking again. The governor wants this handled quietly. No more bodies, no more questions. Can you manage that? I've been managing things just fine. Have you? Because from where I sit, it looks like you've got a grieving widow asking uncomfortable questions and cleaning up evidence. Doesn't exactly scream under control. She won't be a problem much longer. See that she's not. The election is next month. Father can't afford any scandals right now. She hears Marcus moving toward the door and scrambles to her feet. By the time he emerges from the cabin, she's standing by her truck, pretending to organize her supplies. Mrs. Crane. She turns, forcing herself to look calm. Mr. Whitmore, it's been a pleasure meeting you. I hope we'll see each other again soon. The threat in his voice is barely concealed. She nods, not trusting herself to speak. Marcus gets in his expensive car and drives away, leaving a cloud of dust and the smell of exhaust. She watches until his taillights disappear around the bend. Pike appears beside her, moving quiet as a ghost. You heard? It's not a question. She doesn't bother denying it. You killed my husband. Yes, and now you're using me as bait. Yes. She turns to face him. He looks older in the fading light, more tired, but his eyes are still cold, still calculating. Why tell me the truth now? Because you need to understand what you're up against, what we're both up against. Marcus wants us both dead, Mrs. Crane. You because of what you might know. Me because I know too much. She stares at him, trying to process everything she's heard. So, what now? Now we see who blinks first. Pike walks back to the cabin, leaving her standing by her truck in the gathering darkness. She looks up at the stars. The same stars Tommy used to point out to their boys on clear nights. She thinks about the letters hidden in the wall, about Marcus Whitmore and his threats, about Pike and his admission of murder, about justice and revenge, and the difference between them. When she finally goes back inside, Pike is sitting at the table, cleaning a pistol. He doesn't look up when she enters. You coming back tomorrow? Yes. Even knowing what you know? She picks up her cleaning supplies, packs them carefully in her bucket, especially knowing what I know. Pike nods like that's what he expected her to say. Then we better get ready, Mrs. Crane, because after today, things are going to get a lot more dangerous. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the windows and making the cabin creak like old bones. She thinks about Tommy, about the blood on the floor, about the justice Pike promised. Tomorrow, she decides, she'll start making her own promises. The first crack of thunder comes just as the governor's son's taillights disappear down the mountain road. Mrs. Crane is still standing by the cabin window, watching the darkness swallow the red dots of light when the sky opens up. Rain hits the roof like bullets. Within minutes, the dirt road turns to mud, then to rushing water. Pike checks the weather radio, static crackling between the urgent announcements. Flash flood warning, roads closed. Nobody's getting out tonight. She looks at him across the dim cabin, lamplight throwing shadows on his face. The intimacy of being trapped together feels dangerous after everything they've learned today. After reading Tommy's final letter, after hearing the governor's son threaten them both. My boys are expecting me home. Your boys are safer with you here. What's that supposed to mean? Pike turns off the radio. Means Marcus Whitmore didn't drive all the way up here to chat about old times. He came to deliver a message, which was, stop digging or join your husband. Lightning illuminates the cabin windows like camera flashes. She can see the creek below rushing higher, carrying branches and debris toward the valley. No way her old truck would make it down that road now. Pike? Yeah? How long you known what happened to Tommy? He's quiet for so long she thinks he won't answer. Then he walks to the fireplace, starts building a fire with practiced movements. Since the night they brought his body here. The words hit her like physical blows. She sits down hard in the wooden chair, hands pressed to her stomach. His body. You saw his body. I helped bury it. She can't breathe. 6 months of hoping, of believing maybe Tommy was alive somewhere, hurt but breathing. 6 months of telling the boys their daddy might come home. Why? Because they paid me to. Because I was broke and desperate and didn't ask the right questions. Where? Back of the property, near the old well. She doubles over, retching. Nothing comes up but bile and grief. Pike keeps building the fire, giving her space to fall apart. He was already dead when they brought him. Shot twice in the back. Professional work. Who did it? Don't know. Wasn't my business to know. The fire catches, throwing warm light across the cabin. She sits up slowly, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. But you know who ordered it. Whitmore. Had to be. Tommy found something that scared them bad. The vote-buying records. More than that, Tommy found proof they've been killing people for 20 years. Anyone who threatened to talk. She thinks about the other missing men, the other wives who gave up asking questions. How many bodies are buried on this property? How many families got the same lies from Sheriff Garrett? Why are you helping me now? Pike stirs the fire with an iron poker. Because I got tired of being their cleanup man. Because some things can't be undone, but they can be avenged. And because you feel guilty. Yeah, that too. The storm rages outside, wind howling through the trees like something wounded. She pulls her jacket tighter, trying to stop shivering. But the cold is coming from inside now, from the place where hope used to live. Pike? What? I'm pregnant. He stops stirring the fire. The poker clangs against the stones as he sets it down. How long? 3 months, maybe 4. Tommy's. She nods, unable to speak. The baby has been her secret for weeks, the one thing keeping her moving forward when everything else felt impossible. Does anyone else know? No, just you now. Pike sits in the chair across from her, firelight dancing on his weathered face. Changes things. How? Makes this more dangerous. For you and the baby. Everything's dangerous now. Mrs. Crane, call me Sarah. If we're gonna die together, you might as well use my name. Sarah, you can't stay involved in this. Not now. Yes, I can. Think about the baby. I am thinking about the baby. What kind of world I'm bringing it into. What kind of people run this place. She stands, pacing to the window. The glass is fogged with her breath, but she can see the storm still raging outside. My boys ask me every night when their daddy's coming home, what am I supposed to tell them? Tell them he's not. And when they're older, when they ask what happened to him, I'm supposed to say I gave up, that I let his killers walk free. Pike watches her pace, his eyes following her movements. You're supposed to say you stayed alive to raise them. I'm supposed to get justice. Justice and revenge ain't the same thing. Sometimes they are. She turns from the window, facing him across the warm room. The fire pops and crackles, filling the silence between them. Pike, why did you really hire me? Don't tell me it was because I had nothing to lose. Tell me the truth. He's quiet for a long moment, staring into the flames. Because Tommy told them about you before he died. The words freeze her blood. What did he tell them? That you were smarter than him, tougher, said if anything happened to him, you'd never stop looking. He was right. Said you were the only person he ever met who couldn't be bought or scared off. He was right about that too. Pike nods slowly. They wanted me to kill you months ago. Make it look like an accident. Grieving widow. Too much to drink. Car goes off the bridge. Why didn't you? Because I met you first. Saw you at the sheriff's office, demanding answers. Saw you wouldn't quit. She sits back down, legs suddenly weak. So you hired me instead. Figured if you were gonna get yourself killed anyway, might as well make it count for something. And now I think maybe we can both get out of this alive. The storm pounds the roof above them. She can hear water dripping somewhere in the walls, steady and persistent. The cabin feels smaller now, intimate in a way that makes her uncomfortable. Pike, yeah? What's your real name? He looks up from the fire, surprised by the question. Why? Because if I'm going to trust you with my life and my baby's life, I want to know who you really are. Daniel. Daniel Pike. You got family, Daniel. Had a wife once. She died. How? Car accident, or that's what they called it. She understands now. The careful way he moves, the hollow look in his eyes. He's not just helping her get justice for Tommy. He's getting justice for himself. They killed her too. She found out about the missing people. Started asking the same questions you're asking. How long ago? 2 years. You been planning this revenge for 2 years? Been planning it since the day they buried her. The fire burns lower, casting longer shadows on the cabin walls. She can feel the baby moving inside her, restless like it senses the danger surrounding them. Daniel. Yeah? Tomorrow, when this storm clears, we're gonna finish this. Sarah, you can't. Not in your condition. My condition is exactly why I have to. This baby's not gonna grow up in a world where killers run free. And if we don't survive, then at least we tried. He nods, understanding passing between them like a silent promise. Outside, the storm begins to weaken, rain turning from bullets to whispers against the glass. You should try to sleep. Tomorrow's gonna be hard. Where? Take the bed. I'll stay by the fire. She stands, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming her. Daniel. What? Thank you. For telling me the truth. Thank you for not running. She walks to the small bedroom, pausing in the doorway. One more thing. Yeah? When we find them, when we make them pay, I want to be the one who pulls the trigger. Pike stirs the fire, sparks rising toward the ceiling like prayers. I wouldn't have it any other way, Sarah. I wouldn't have it any other way. The storm continues through the night, but inside the cabin, something has shifted. Two broken people finding strength in shared purpose. Two hearts beating with the same desire for justice. And tomorrow, when the road's clear and the sun rises, the real work begins. The storm hits the cabin like a freight train just as Pike opens the first letter. Rain hammers the roof so hard it sounds like gunfire. Lightning splits the sky every few seconds, turning the windows into mirrors that reflect nothing but white. You shouldn't be reading those. Her voice cuts through the thunder. She's standing by the kitchen table, one hand pressed against her lower back. The baby's been restless all day, kicking hard against her ribs. These are addressed to me. Pike holds up the envelope, squinting at the faded ink. From your husband. Tommy's dead. Tommy wrote these 3 days before he died. The words hit her like cold water. She takes a step forward, then stops as something sharp twists in her belly. Not the baby. Something else. Something that feels like a warning. That's impossible. Dear Pike, he reads. If you're reading this, then they got me. But I found what you wanted. The records are in the old well behind the Miller place. Everything Whitmore did, every vote he bought, every man he killed to keep it quiet. Another contraction, stronger this time. She grips the back of a chair, breathing hard. Pike doesn't look up from the letter. I know why you sent me after this information. I know what Whitmore did to your daughter. But there's something else you need to know. Something about my wife. Stop. The word comes out as a gasp. Stop reading. Something about my wife that changes everything. Lightning crashes outside, so close the cabin shakes. In the flash of light, she sees Pike's face clearly for the first time in months. Really sees it. The shape of his jaw, the set of his eyes, the way he holds his mouth when he's thinking. She knows that face. Oh, God. The realization hits her just as another contraction tears through her middle. Oh, God, you're him. I'm who? Mrs. Crane. You're the one Tommy was writing to. You're the one who sent him after Whitmore. Pike folds the letter carefully, puts it back in the envelope. Keep going. You're the father whose daughter Whitmore killed. Elizabeth Pike, age 17. Found dead in Miller's Creek after she threatened to expose Whitmore's vote-buying scheme. The contractions are coming faster now, each one like a knife twisted in her gut. She can feel the baby dropping, pressing down, getting ready, but she can't stop staring at Pike's face, seeing it clearly for the first time. Tommy knew, didn't he? He figured out who you were. Smart man, your husband. That's why he wrote the letters. That's why he hid them in the cabin wall. Pike pulls out a second envelope, this one thicker. Want to know what else he figured out? She doesn't answer. Can't answer. The pain is building like the storm outside, waves of it rolling through her body. She grips the chair harder, knuckles white. He figured out that you already knew. The words don't make sense. She shakes her head, trying to focus through the pain. Knew what? That Elizabeth Pike was your sister. The contraction that hits her then is so strong it doubles her over. She can't breathe, can't think, can't do anything but hold on and wait for it to pass. When it does, Pike is standing closer, the letter open in his hands. Elizabeth Hartley before she married that boy and took his name. Elizabeth Hartley, daughter of Mary Hartley, your mother. No. Half-sister, technically. Same mother, different fathers. But you knew that, didn't you? You knew when you took this job. The memories come flooding back then, carried on waves of pain that seemed to crack her skull open. Elizabeth, 2 years older, wild and beautiful and fearless. Elizabeth, who ran away at 15 when their mother's boyfriend got too interested. Elizabeth, who sent letters for a while, then nothing. She came to see me before she died, Pike continues, his voice gentle now. Told me about her family, about the sister she left behind. Gave me this. He pulls something from his pocket, a photograph, faded and creased. Elizabeth and her at the county fair, both of them laughing at something outside the frame. She's maybe 12 in the picture, gap-toothed and skinny. Elizabeth has her arm around her shoulders. She said if anything happened to her, I should find you. Said you were the only family that mattered. Another contraction, this one so fierce she cries out. The baby is coming, ready or not. She can feel it moving, positioning itself. So when Tommy came to me, when he told me he had a wife named Crane, I knew. I knew exactly who you were. You killed him. The words come out between gasps. You killed Tommy. No. You sent him after Whitmore knowing they'd kill him. I sent him because he volunteered, because he wanted justice for Elizabeth too. The pain is constant now, no breaks between contractions. She stumbles toward the bedroom, Pike following. He loved her, you know, your sister. Met her at a church social the month before she died. She told him about Whitmore, about what she'd seen. She collapses on the bed, hands pressed against her swollen belly. The baby is coming fast, too fast. Tommy was supposed to get the evidence and get out, but Whitmore's men were waiting. Because you told them. Because someone else told them. Someone who knew about the plan. Another memory surfaces through the pain. Tommy, 3 nights before he disappeared, on the phone in the kitchen, talking quiet, urgent. She'd been feeding the boys, not really listening, but now she remembers his words. I can't do it, Pike. Not with the baby coming. Find someone else. And Pike's voice on the other end crackling through the phone. There is no one else, Tommy. You're the only one she trusts. The only one she trusts. It was me. The realization hits her like a physical blow. I was the one who told them. Pike nods, sitting on the edge of the bed. Sheriff Garrett called you the night before Tommy was supposed to meet Whitmore's men. Said he had some questions about Tommy's work. She remembers now. Garrett calling late, apologetic. Just routine questions, he'd said. Nothing to worry about. But he'd asked when Tommy would be home, where he was working. I told him about the Miller place. I told him Tommy would be there the next morning. You told him because you trusted him. Because everyone trusts Sheriff Garrett. The baby is crowning now. She can feel it, the pressure and burning and overwhelming need to push. But the memories keep coming, each one worse than the last. Garrett works for Whitmore. Garrett's been covering for Whitmore for 20 years. And I killed my husband. Pike's hand is warm on her forehead. No, Mrs. Crane, you didn't know. You couldn't have known. But she did know, on some level. She'd known when Tommy started acting nervous. Looking over his shoulder, she'd known when he bought the gun and hid it in the truck. She'd known something was wrong, but she'd ignored it because she was pregnant and scared and desperate for things to be normal. The baby's coming. I know. You have to help me. Pike moves to the foot of the bed, positioning himself. I've done this before, with Elizabeth when she was born. Mary couldn't get to the hospital in time. Another contraction, and she has to push. Has to. The baby is coming, whether she's ready or not. Why did you really hire me, Pike? Because you deserve to know the truth. And because I needed someone Whitmore's people wouldn't suspect. Someone who could move around town, ask questions, get close to Garrett. She pushes again, screaming through gritted teeth. The baby's head emerges slick and dark. You used me. I gave you a chance to get justice for Tommy. By putting me in danger. By putting you in position to finish what he started. One more push, and the baby slides out in a rush of blood and fluid. Pike catches it, this tiny, perfect thing, and she hears it cry. Strong lungs, good color. It's a girl, Pike says, wrapping the baby in a towel. Perfect little girl. He places the baby on her chest, and she looks down at her daughter's face. Elizabeth's face, somehow. The same dark eyes, the same stubborn chin. What's her name going to be? She doesn't hesitate. Elizabeth Crane. Pike nods like he expected that answer. Outside, the storm is starting to move on, thunder rolling away into the distance. What happens now? She asks, holding her daughter close. Now you rest. Tomorrow we finish this. How? Pike pulls out a folder from under the bed, thick with papers and photographs. Tommy found everything before they killed him. Every payoff. Every vote bought. Every murder covered up. It's all here. And tomorrow you take it to the state police. Tell them everything you know about Garrett, about Whitmore, about the corruption that killed your husband and your sister. She looks down at baby Elizabeth, at this perfect, innocent thing that came out of so much pain and loss. What if they don't believe me? They'll believe you, because you're not just some grieving widow anymore, Mrs. Crane. You're a witness. You're proof that their system failed. The baby makes a small sound, a tiny sigh, and settles against her chest. For the first time in months, she feels something like peace. Pike? Yeah? When this is over, when Whitmore and Garrett are in prison, what then? Pike stands, gathering the bloody towels. Then you go home to your boys. You raise this little girl. You live the life Tommy wanted you to have. And you? I'll finally be able to visit Elizabeth's grave without wanting to burn the whole world down. She closes her eyes, exhausted, but not empty anymore. Outside, the first hint of dawn is touching the horizon. The storm has passed, leaving the air clean and new. In her arms, baby Elizabeth sleeps peacefully, unaware of the justice that will be born with the morning sun. The contractions hit like lightning splitting a tree. She grips the cabin's windowsill, knuckles white against the old wood, watching Pike pace the kitchen like a caged animal. How long between them now? 2 minutes, maybe less. We need to get you to the hospital. No. The word comes out sharp, final. Not yet. Pike stops pacing, stares at her. Woman, you're about to have a baby. I know what I'm about to do. Another contraction builds, stronger this time, stealing her breath. She closes her eyes. Focuses on the sound of rain against glass, on the smell of pine and old secrets that still clings to these walls. Mrs. Crane, this ain't safe. Nothing about this has been safe. She opens her eyes, looks at him across the room. In the lamplight, his face shows every one of his 50 years, every hard decision he's made. You still got those letters? What letters? Don't play dumb with me, Pike. The ones Tommy hid. The ones that prove what Whitmore and his people been doing. Pike glances toward the fireplace, toward the loose stone where they found Tommy's evidence 3 days ago. Names, dates, amounts, enough to bring down half the county government. They're safe. Good. She breathes through another wave of pain. Because we're gonna need them. For what? For what comes after. The contractions are coming faster now. Harder. She moves to the bed, Pike made up in the corner. The same spot where they found the bloodstains, where Tommy died fighting for the truth. Pike. Yeah? You remember what I told you about my maiden name? You said it was Williams. I lied. He stops what he's doing, looks at her sharp. What's your real name? Federal Agent Sarah Chen, DEA. Tommy was my partner, not my husband. The words hang in the air like gunshot. Pike's face goes pale, then red, then something else entirely. You're a cop. Was a cop. Now I'm something else. What the hell are you talking about? Another contraction hits, this one bringing her to her knees. The pain is different now. Urgent. Final. The baby is coming whether she's ready or not. Pike, I need you to listen to me. I'm listening. Tommy found more than just vote buying. He found drug money, cartel money flowing through Whitmore's campaign, through the sheriff's office, through half the businesses in this county. Jesus. We were federal, deep cover. Spent 2 years building a case. She grips the bed frame, feeling the pressure building inside her. The baby wants out. Everything wants out. Then why you here cleaning blood instead of arresting people? Because Tommy's dead, and our backup is compromised, and I needed to know who to trust. Pike sits down hard in the chair by the window. So, this whole thing, you playing the grieving widow, working for me, it's all been a setup. Yeah. And the baby. Another contraction. Stronger than all the rest. She can feel the baby moving, positioning, preparing for the world outside. The baby's mine and Tommy's, only real thing in this whole mess. So what now? Now we finish what Tommy started. The pain builds to something beyond endurance. She grips the sheets, bites down on the sound trying to escape her throat. The baby is coming now, ready or not. Pike, I need you to call a number. What number? It's in my phone. A contact named David. Who's David? My handler, FBI. He's been waiting for my signal. Pike finds her phone, scrolls through the contacts. What's the signal? Tell him the crane sang. The crane sang? He'll know what it means. The pressure intensifies, becomes something that demands everything she has. She can feel the baby's head, feel the moment approaching when everything changes. Pike. What? After you make that call, you need to get Sheriff Garrett out here. Why would I do that? Because he's been taking cartel money for 20 years, and because Tommy recorded him taking it. Where's the recording? Same place as the letters. Tommy was thorough. Pike looks toward the fireplace again, understanding dawning on his face. You want Garrett here when the feds arrive. I want him here when this baby is born. Why? The next contraction brings a sound out of her she's never made before. Primal and raw and desperate. The baby's head crowns, and she knows there's no going back now. Because when this baby comes, when I'm most vulnerable, that's when Garrett will try to kill me. What? He knows who I am, Pike. Has for weeks. Been waiting for the right moment. How do you know that? Because Tommy told him, right before Garrett killed him. Pike goes very still. Garrett killed Tommy? Shot him right where you're standing. Tommy was trying to surrender the evidence. Trying to make a deal. Garrett took the briefcase and put 2 bullets in Tommy's chest. Then why ain't you dead too? Because Garrett thinks I'm just Tommy's woman. Thinks I don't know nothing about the operation. But you do. I know everything. The baby's shoulders emerge, slippery and perfect and alive. She bears down with everything she has, feeling her body split open to make room for this new life. Pike, call that number. Now. He dials, waits. David, this is Pike. The crane sang. She can hear the voice on the other end, urgent and professional. Pike nods, hangs up. How long till they get here? 20 minutes. Good. Now call Garrett. What do I tell him? Tell him Mrs. Crane's having her baby. Tell him she's asking for him. He'll know it's a trap. No, he'll think it's an opportunity. Pike dials again. She listens to him talk to Garrett, selling the story, making it sound believable. A desperate woman in labor, asking for the sheriff who tried to help find her missing husband. The baby slips free all at once, tiny and perfect, and screaming. She pulls the child to her chest, feeling the weight of new life against her heart. It's a girl. What you gonna name her? The answer comes without thinking, without planning. A name that carries everything she's lost, everything she's fighting for. Tommy. Her name is Tommy. Pike stares at her. That's a boy's name. It's a hero's name. She looks down at her daughter, at the child who will never know her father, but will carry his legacy. Tommy Chen, born in a cabin where her father died, surrounded by the evidence that will bring down his killers. Mrs. Crane, Agent Chen, whatever your name is. Sarah, my name is Sarah. Sarah, Garrett's coming. You sure you're ready for this? She shifts the baby to one arm, reaches under the mattress for the gun she's kept hidden there for weeks. Tommy's service weapon, the one Garrett never found. I've been ready for 6 months. And if he doesn't come alone, then we improvise. Outside, car doors slam, footsteps on gravel. She checks the gun's safety, looks at Pike. You don't have to stay for this. Yeah, I do. Why? Because Tommy was a good man. And because that baby deserves to grow up knowing her daddy was a hero. The cabin door opens without a knock. Sheriff Garrett steps inside, followed by 2 men she doesn't recognize. His hand rests on his service weapon, but he's not drawn it yet. still playing the concerned lawman. "Mrs. Crane, I heard you were having some trouble." She looks up at him from the bed, holding her newborn daughter, the picture of vulnerability, except for the gun in her other hand, pointed steady at his chest. "No trouble at all, Sheriff. Just giving birth to justice." Garrett reaches for his weapon, but it's too late. The cabin fills with the sound of federal agents shouting commands, the room bright with tactical lights. David and his team pour through the door, weapons drawn, badges visible. "FBI, Sheriff Garrett, you're under arrest for conspiracy, murder, and racketeering." Garrett looks at her, at the baby, at the gun still pointed at his heart. Understanding and rage war across his face. "You clever bitch. Agent Chen to you." As they cuff Garrett, as they raid him his rights, as they secure the scene, she holds her daughter close and whispers the words Tommy never got to hear. "It's over, partner. We got them all." The baby stops crying, opens dark eyes that look exactly like her father's. Sarah Chen, federal agent, widow, mother, survivor, smiles for the first time in 6 months. Outside, the storm finally breaks.